Good morning. This is Miss Lally out here doing my daily morning upkeep in my garden. And this morning I am taking time out to look over my tomatoes and to also prune the tomatoes so that I will have one main stem going up the tomato, and any stems I see that have form, I'll cut those off. Now this plant right here, let's see if I can get in there. No, I can't. I have one main stem and then it branched off right there, and I didn't catch that. So I have the main, let's see, I have that main stem right there, and then this one branched off, which I really didn't want. I wanted one main stem because in the past when I've grown tomatoes and I didn't stay on top of pruning and watching how the stem grew up, they just grow and get outrageous, and they're hard to maintain, hard to keep orderly, and become a big mess. And when the tomatoes grow on some of the stems fall over. Here come a plane. The stems fall over and some break, and it becomes really messy for me, especially when the plants get really tall. So I was watching Danny from Deep South Homestead. I like to watch his channel, and he was talking about how he allows his tomato plants to grow to a certain height, and then when they get to a certain height, he cuts off where the stem continuously grows at the apex, the temple. And so that's what I'm trying to do, is let these tomatoes grow. See, like this tomato right here, I didn't catch it on this one, so that's my main stem here, but this stem branched off. I didn't catch that. So what I did was right there, I cut off the growing top so that on this stem it will stop growing and it'll just produce the tomatoes. Let's see. So I got a tomato cluster there and a tomato cluster. I think I'm pointing to it right there. So that's what I'm doing. And he also said once his tomatoes get to a certain point, then he'll stop doing that type of pruning, and then he'll let them grow outward instead of growing upward. And I said, okay, so that's the plan I'm going to follow this year. Let them grow up to a certain point, basically to the top of this cattle panel. Let them grow upward, and then continue to prune them while they're growing upward, trying to keep that main stem going, and then I'll let them grow outward, but at least I'll be able to maintain it along the way. So I had been out here doing the pollination practice with the electric toothbrush, coming out, and with the electric toothbrush I take it and vibrate the flower, and I have a nice abundance of tomatoes, and the tomatoes are on, like the plants in the front of the cattle panel. All of these have tomatoes on it, but the plants are really small at this point in time. So what I do is I come out around 12 noon, and when the flowers are kind of open, let's see, yeah, when the flowers are kind of open like that, they're a little wider around 12 noon, I'll come out with the electric toothbrush and just gently let it vibrate. I've seen some pollen, y'all see yellow pollen come out sometimes when I do that, and see, it's tomatoes, little baby tomatoes. And even on the other side of the cattle panel, got a cluster right there. So this is looking really good. So that's what I'm out here doing this morning, is pruning and looking over. I even took off some aphids, but it's actually, in looking over the plant, it's not a lot of aphids out here. So I'm assuming that when I released the ladybugs, they came and they were extremely hungry, and they just went to town on the aphids and got the population down really low. So now I guess my job is to just keep doing what I'm doing, coming out here and daily look over tomato plants. If I see some aphids, just take some of them off. Take some off, and I think they'll be okay. Actually, yesterday I did see one ladybug in my garden over on my potato plants, way over there. I was so excited. So yeah, everything's looking good. It's always good to come out and look over your plants in the garden, because you never know what you might see. So I'm looking over and I'm like, what? Let's see. What are those things hanging from a tomato leaf? I'm not sure, but I will be getting my packing tape and removing it. I don't even want to wait around to see what is going to become of that. It is always good to look over your garden. You just never know what you may come across. Something exciting, maybe a pest, maybe a beneficial insect. Maybe you might see something growing that you didn't know you had growing out in your garden. And you become very familiar with your plant. You know how it's supposed to look. You know what's supposed to be there, what's not supposed to be there, especially when you do it on a daily basis. You know how your plant is supposed to look. You know what was there the day before, what wasn't there. You'll know if something ends up missing when your garden starts producing its fruits and vegetables, and you become familiar with the amount that you have out there. And then if you come back and you notice something's missing, you're like, you know, that gives you the heads up. Maybe there might be some critter hanging around my garden after I did all my hard work. And here they come. They want to take something. That cluster looks really nice. Fried green tomatoes coming up. So this morning is all about the tomatoes, making sure they're coming up the way I want them to come up, that they'll be somewhat orderly for me, that they will do right, won't become too overly bushy. That's been a big problem for me in the past, and just trying to maintain that. So I'm hoping that this cattle panel method, where I can tie them to the cattle panel or intertwine them in the cattle panel, will work, and it won't be as messy. I still expect them to get bushy, but it won't be as messy for me. So that's what's going on in my garden this morning. Thanks for watching.